Assalamu alaikum. Hi, everybody. I'm here today with Hakim Shahid Bukhari, a prominent Unani physician. Assalamu alaikum, Hakim. How are you doing today?
Wa alaikum salam, Shifa. Nice to see you.
Lovely to see you, as always. So, I want this session with you to be a general introduction to Unani Tibb. I want the audience to get a basic grasp and a very beneficial grasp of what Unani is and how we can benefit them.
Sure. Okay, sure. Unani medicine is an ancient system of medicine. First of all, Unani is Arabic for Greek.
Okay.
So the Arabs call it Unani medicine. Unani Tibb. Tibb means medicine. So they call it Unani Tibb or Greek medicine. But it's actually Greek or Arabic. So it's got a system. They got some of the fundamentals of concepts from the Greeks, but it's developed by the Arabs. When it was the Arabic Empire for nearly 1,000 years, so that system was developed, and it then feeds into the modern system of medicine. Came from this system of medicine, okay, and the fundamental concept. It has some very apparently very straightforward concepts, but they can be very powerful. It believes in something called mizaj or temperament.
Okay.
And the mizaj can be found in each of us, in the individuals, or within the seasons, or within our foods. So everything is sort of categorized in terms of a mizaj. And before the mizaj, there's something called concept of hot and cold, wet and dry. Those concepts, the combination of those concepts, those qualities rather, make temperament. Okay. Now, why that is important? Why is that important? It's important because once you understand your own temperament. So, for example, if your temperament was hot and dry, yeah, that means that you have certain attributes in terms of your health. So we talk about health in here because there is something going around about temperaments and people's personality traits. Personality traits are a spin-off. It's interesting. It's fun, but really it's more about your health. That was the original concept. That's why this system was developed, to learn about your health. Now, if you're, for example, as I said, hot and dry, you would have certain health conditions, or you'd be prone to certain health conditions. And if you're aware of that, you can avoid them. So, for example, if you, it's not no rocket science to understand if you're dry, you're going to suffer from dry conditions, skin conditions, eczema, psoriasis, those type of conditions. You're more prone to or fevers or those type of things. If you are cold and moist, you'll be suffering from more cold-related conditions like phlegmatic type of conditions, tonsillitis or coughs and colds, feeling more lethargic, easily gain weight, those type of things. So if you're aware of that, you can then do something about that in terms of what we call the 6 fundamental factors.
Okay.
The 6 fundamental factors, essential factors, which can affect your health.
Mm-hmm.
These are sleep, meaning that you sleep too much or too little,
Mm-hmm.
or for your temperament, okay?
Okay.
For each temperament. In also food and drink. So if you are hot and dry, if you're eating hot and dry foods, the mizaj of the food is hot and dry, like nuts and nuts, for example, you're going to be aggravated.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So you need to be aware of that. And also similarly with rest and exercise, mental activity, retention, evacuation, meaning like how often do you go to the bathroom, do you sweat or you don't sweat, those type of things. So that's the fundamental, in a nutshell, the concept of Unani medicine.
You mentioned that the Western medicine is developed from the Unani medicine. So how is that? How can we see traces of that development in our Western medical model?
Sure. Okay. It's a good question. Now, as I say, a lot of things, the fundamentals of Western medicine came from this system of medicine. So, for example, words like chemistry, which you did at school, it comes from Arabic, alchemia. Okay. So this was developed by the Arabs. So that some of the things like distillation and many other things that you'll see, even words and terminologies you might find in Western medicine are actually in effect Arabic names.
Right.
Yeah. And so that shows that there was a precursor to this medicine. What came from so Western medicine came from Unani medicine. And so that is something that that's how we know. Yeah. And some of the books that were studied in sort of universities of medicine, they were all they were from Unani Ibn Sina's books. It's 500. But then they sort of over time, especially with the germ theory, and that's when there was a sort of a movement away from this concept of humors and temperaments, and they are more into finding the in terms of the virus or the bacteria that caused disease. So for us, it's more about what's the terrain, what's the environment that's caused that bacteria to grow. So we try to balance that. So for example, if somebody has a acid reflux, yeah, so you would take some acid reflux tablets, yeah, from over the from the shop. You could take something, or if it gets worse, you go to your physician. That will help you, with that issue, but it doesn't take away the issue. You see, we need to find out what's the causes, the asbab.
It sounds like you're saying that, and correct me if this is wrong, but how certain people fail to get the infection that is going around.
Absolutely.
Western medicine can't really explain that. Unani medicine sort of explains it as the temperament of that individual and the factors allowed that infection to fester in them. The Unani can give an explanation as to why not everybody falls ill the same way at the same time.
It's not just Unani medicine, all natural medicine sees it that way. So what we call naturopaths, they would see it in that way. The Chinese, TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the Ayurveda, Indian system medicine, they see it in a different way, the concept. So, is that environment capable of allowing that condition to grow? Yeah. And why certain people don't. So, for example, let's say even medicine. So, for headaches, yeah, headache medicine. So, and you'll see some people take certain medicines like paracetamol or aspirin, and it doesn't work on them. So, the reason it doesn't work on them, because for us, Unani physician, there are 25 different types of headaches.
25.
Yeah, 25 different types of headaches. And but as a basic level, we would look at, is it a hot headache or is it a cold headache?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, even if we go to the terms of the hot and cold, is it a cold headache? Is it a hot headache? If you've had a hot head, you will know what that. You have to experience that to know what it is. If you've had it, you know what I'm talking about. And if you had a cold headache, you feel cold. There's like a cold shiver. Now, we would give a different prescription for that, right? Because if we give the same medicine for the same headache, it will aggravate the person. They'll feel worse. Okay, so that's why we need to know what first of all, the causation. Okay. Without dealing with the causation, we'll temporarily fix the issue. We won't fix it for the long term. And also in terms of the type of headaches, for example, I give the example of headaches. It's easier for your audience to understand. We would treat it differently. And also, you'll see a lot of stuff on the internet. When you go on Instagram and all the other sort of sites, you'll see that, if you got a cough, for example, or some sort of, you just take ginger. And the ginger is fine up to a certain period. After 3 days or up to 3 days or more, after that, it starts drying you up, makes things worse. So you'd probably add something like licorice or something. So those type of things, if that's where hot and cold and dry things are important.
What would you say is the unique factor of Unani medicine? Because you mentioned other naturopathic medicines. So what's the speciality of Unani?
So the other system medicines are also, they all have their great strengths. I mean, Chinese system of medicine, which I've studied, is also it's a very elegant system of medicine. But the one that I mainly focus on is Unani system medicine. It's in many ways it's very easier to grasp and so to understand, as opposed to if you're understanding things like yin and yang and the 5 elements in the Chinese system. It's or even the Indian system of doshas and all that stuff, right? They are a little bit more. It's a little bit not straightforward to pick up for everybody. But this system of medicine is not alien, in a sense, it's not alien to the Western mind in particular, because it's part of the cultural heritage in that sense. Doesn't mean that all the other systems are amazing, but this system it's more easier to grasp and also part of the cultural heritage. So even some of the words and terminologies that we use in this system of medicine is found in the English language. Like somebody's melancholic, somebody's choleric, somebody's sanguine. Yeah, those words are even found within the English language. Yeah, and so that's why it's also the interesting thing is that it's also transnational. It's able to move, be able to adapt to each location. So it's used in the UK, in England, in a system like people like Culpeper, the physicians back in the 16th, 15th century, they would use that same concepts in Europe and in Middle East and the subcontinent. The Chinese system of medicine up to relatively recently was found mainly in China, and the Indian system of medicine was found mainly in India. It didn't go out of those main regions, right? So it's less understood, but things are changing now.
Yeah. So who was Ibn Sina?
So we've have a number of physicians over the time who have helped to build the system of medicine. So before Ibn Sina, we've had Hippocrates. So Hippocrates, most people know, especially with those who are physicians, they take the Hippocratic oath.
Right.
That's where it comes from. And he is one of the founders of this system of medicine. So is a Roman physician, Galen. And after that, there'll be many physicians. And Ibn Sina it's one of the great physicians in the whole line of these famous physicians. And he was, the good thing about him was he codified or explained things from top to bottom, each part of the body and the causes of illnesses and how we can treat them. That was the interesting thing about it. But other physicians, as I say, so we talk about the circulatory system, the heart system, and we attribute it to Harvey, the British physician. But actually, a long time before that, a few centuries before that, it came from the Arab physicians. So they'd already worked it out.
So currently we see the trend of this whole mind-body and balancing the mind and the body. So is that something in Unani Tibb as well?
In reality, most of illnesses, from my experiences, are through emotions. Okay. Yeah. So the mind does affect us more than we can think. That we know, sorry. When you were at school, I don't know, you're a bit young, but when I was at school, they say to us that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words don't harm you. Actually, words do harm you, and they can also heal you. So if you have emotional conditions, it will affect your health a lot. So that's one of the 6 factors I mentioned to you earlier: emotions, health, mental health. So we are facing nowadays an increase in mental health issues and emotional issues and anxiety and stress. Even though we have so much now, especially in the Western world, in Europe and America, we have so much that we throw away food and all that stuff, but we are unhappy, you see, because uh, there is this spiritual, emotional illnesses that people have. You know, materialism has failed. Materialism doesn't really satisfy us. We're not happy. It doesn't matter the bigger car you have, the bigger house, you're still not happy because emotionally there is a disconnect. And also, it's a bigger topic, but we're disconnected with Earth. There's no, you know, we're not connected with Earth. We're not connected with nature. So, and also the foods. This is, I say, this could go on,
Yeah.
but foods that we eat, they're not very good for us. So when the Europeans came to America a few hundred years ago, the topsoil that was about a foot and a half.
Mhm.
Now all they do, they're turning is the fertilizers, which the companies are selling them, and what do they put in the fertilizers? So it's a whole it's a bigger issue. We are aware that the lack of spiritual connection, the lack of connecting with yourself or your creator is the cause of your feeling of being lonely, feeling empty inside. There is this emptiness because you can't fill that void with material stuff.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter, you know, how much food you have or how much money you have or how much car you have or how much women you have or how much men you have. It's not going to satisfy you. You see, you know, I've seen people who live in poor countries who don't have anything. They're smiling. Yeah. So that is something that only you can change within yourself to be aware. Yeah, you need to be aware of that. But there's some things that, you know, in emotional issues that you need help with,
Right.
right? Because it's and as I say, the communities have broken down. Back in the day, you know, you would be talking to your community, your family members. Now people are living in so isolated communities, and that's what's making people selfish,
Mm.
and that's creating an emptiness.
What could a person do to help themselves? Because you mentioned a lot about like self-awareness and also like community awareness. So what can people do to help themselves?
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised how you could maintain your health and improve your health by doing some, you know, simple things like going out in the fresh air, you know, being connected with Earth, meaning that going out and, I mean, you live in a beautiful country, okay, and there's a beautiful city out there where you live in eastern New England, yeah.
Yeah, the
Uh,
beaches are lovely.
it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful country. And I mean, the country itself is very beautiful. I've been around different places. And why not go out and see the nature and see, get yourself connected with nature? That is healing. It's a healing system.
Yeah.
And then also be aware of what you're eating.
Right.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the temperament of foods, but just generally speaking, eating good food is important. Eating food that made by yourself, right? Using natural ingredients, not things from tins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to help your health. Exercise, getting enough sleep,
Yeah.
right? Any system of medicine will tell you this, yeah. But in the United System of Medicine, also be aware that certain foods that you know that are um, appropriate for your misage or your temperament. You know, uh, you need to eat those type of foods and that type of exercise. On my website, which you can share with your you know your audience, is that they can go in and complete a questionnaire for free,
Yeah.
and they'll tell them their temperament
Yeah.
and some suggestions, the type of foods and drinks they should be eating.
Thank you. I also find that when you're eating seasonally, you tend to be eating more according to the correct mizaj of. So in the summer, you notice that a lot of the vegetation that's produced is cooling and moistening to
Mm.
balance the heat and the dryness. And the foods that you then tend to store, like the pumpkins and the squashes for the winter time, that they balance what you need in the winter. Like they'll increase the heat and they'll increase the moisture. Or
Yeah.
or
No, it's the thing is we need to be aware of what season a particular food grows, or fruits and foods and stuff. It's very, very important to try to eat foods within in season,
yeah.
and also particularly foods that grow underground, like say potatoes or whatever, that things that grow under the soil. Those are have healing properties for that particular region.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no point shipping stuff which is from South America and you're living in Northeast America, and that's not really appropriate for you. You should be getting foods and fruits locally grown.
Right. That's interesting. Like seeing avocado toast in Scotland.
Yeah,
It's an interesting concept. You wouldn't have thought
bizarre. It's
even
bizarre.
30 years ago, or
Yeah,
like strawberries in winter.
yeah, it's
Like,
bizarre.
yeah,
So, I know you should eat things locally and support local farmers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if
So,
anything, that's just going to increase the community spirit and
yes, of
connect
course.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much for those beautiful pearls of wisdom, like you.
You're welcome. You're
And
welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And thank your audience for listening.
yeah, and inshallah, I hope to see you back and take care. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.